you for joining us on this episode of In Conversation With. We're really happy to be having a chat with our Vice Principal, Academic Development and Student Experience at RGU, Professor Lynn Kilbride. Thank you very much for joining us on this chat, Professor.
Not at all. Thank you for having me, and well done in getting the title correct.
Thank you very much. I really tried on that one. So my first question to you really is to tell us about your professional history and the journey so far.
So my professional background is that I am qualified as a nurse, so that was my role. I was born and brought up in Livingston, which is in West Lothian, and it's a place between Edinburgh and Glasgow in Scotland. But from a very young age, I always had a desire to be a nurse. That was always what I wanted to do. And I very much realise that it's such a privilege to have that desire to do something, because I know so many people are unsure for quite a lot of their life about what they may want to do as a job. So I was delighted to then managed to get a place at university. So I went to Glasgow Caledonian University and studied for 4 years to get a BA Honours in nursing, and then I started my first job. While I was at university, I met my now husband. I was going to say current, but I do hope he stays around just a little bit longer. So I met my husband there, and then I moved to Edinburgh to work, and I worked in a hospital in Edinburgh for a while, and then I moved to the area of which became my expertise, which is neurosurgery. So I became a nurse in neurosurgery, worked for a few years in neurosurgery, but became very interested in research, and was very lucky to be appointed as a research nurse. And the reason that I'm giving you all of this background is that that's really what started my idea of becoming involved in an academic life. And so I became a research nurse, and at the same time I studied to do a master's, but my PhD was funded through working with a neuro-oncologist and a neurologist in what we call the Department of Clinical Neurosciences. And my PhD looked at the time period between surgery and radiotherapy for people with malignant brain tumours. And that was the area of work that I did for a long time. And in that I was very fortunate because, as I say, I achieved my PhD, but at the same time I was also getting clinical experience as a nurse. And during this time I had my daughter, so that was 22 years ago. Now you're thinking there's no way you're that old, but I am. 22 years ago I had my daughter, completed my PhD, and sadly being a nurse at that point and working 12-hour shifts, day shift, night shift, became problematic for my family life. So I decided that I would look for a job that would allow me to have my family but do what I loved, and so I became what we called a lecturer practitioner, and I worked between a university in Edinburgh called Queen Margaret University College at the time it was called, and the NHS Lothian. And what I did was that I looked at developing professional development courses for nurses that wanted to upskill. We now call it upskilling, but at that time it was about how do we enable nurses who are qualified to gain more skills and gain more academic qualifications. And I think at that point that's where I became really interested in career and academic alignment, so people could learn in their jobs but also advance themselves academically. And of course then my motivation to be much more involved and academia became even more exciting to me. I then moved from that role to be a senior research lecturer at Edinburgh Napier University, where I stayed for 10 years, which is a long time for me to stay in a role. But I had a number of jobs there. I had a job being the senior lecturer in research, as I said. Then I became a senior lecturer and head of division. I then moved on to be a lead for commercialisation and internationalisation. And then again, it came a point in my life where my family life and work life needed to change slightly because I was spending a significant time of my life overseas. And just as my daughter was about to sit her, what we call our national fives and hires in Scotland, I thought she could do with her mum being at home for slightly longer. So I took a role in Glasgow Caledonian University as a head of department of nursing and community health. And that gave me real development opportunities to work as a leader more, so looking at a group of people and working with them in order to take forward a department in a university. then worked there for 3 years and decided it would be nice to move to a university that had a different intensity. So Glasgow Caledonian was a modern university, so then I moved to the University of Dundee, which is slightly more research intensive. There I was the Dean of Health Sciences for around about 3 years. Very lucky during that time to have been asked to do the interim role of Vice Principal for Education, which is a very similar job to the one I've got now. And that really allowed me to think that's the job I would really like. So I went back to being Dean and hopefully still did that job very well during the COVID times, but started to look for a role like this one here at Robert Gordon University. And I'm absolutely delighted that I've been appointed 5 weeks ago now to be in the role that you've managed to describe perfectly at the beginning, which is Vice Principal for Academic Development and Student Experience.
And we're very happy to have you as part of the RGU family, and we hope that you'll stay with us for many, many years.
Okay. I will try and do that.
Thank you. So my next question really is, obviously you've mentioned that you're new here. So tell us about your current role and what the focus for the next 2 to 3 years will be.
I was thinking about that question before I came along, so I really want to start off by saying I can't be specific today about that because it's been too early on. So I hope that in a few months' time, once I've been around longer, we can maybe have a chat again that allows people to hear more specifics about what I intend over the next 2 to 3 years that I might do, because it was quite challenging for being new in the role. But there are a few things that I probably can answer your question with. Immediately, my most important thing is getting students and staff back to campus safely. If they are students who are part of our face-to-face family rather than online. But I really want to get students back to campus safely so that we can try and get that sense of a campus that's really enhancing people's learning by some face-to-face teaching again. And I want it to become a very safe place for them to learn, but also to be challenged and to challenge themselves. So that's number one priority. And this week, we've seen Freshers Week, we've seen people coming back, and it's just so lovely to have people back on campus. I think the next thing that's got to be a priority for me is to get to know as many people as possible, get to know as many staff, get to know as many students, so that I can really hear what's going on in RGU and really what my role can do to make that and to enhance that, to make that better. And so that's my first 2 priorities, get people back and for me to learn from them, gain as much knowledge from them as possible. Then longer term, obviously with the title of my role, I don't think you'd be surprised, I've really got to think about what will the future of teaching and learning at RGU going to be like. We've learnt a lot during the pandemic. There's things that students have really enjoyed and which staff have really enjoyed, but there are also things that we've not enjoyed. And so what we've got to do now is really capitalise on the things that we've enjoyed and think about the future. And what I need to do is have a think about what that means for us as staff and what that means as students. I really think we need to think about our current students, but also the future. What are our future students going to look like, and where are our current and future students going to have jobs? And then I think with students and staff, we need to create what we see as the future for teaching and learning in RGU. We had the first meeting of that group yesterday, and I really hope that over the next few months that group can really work together for us as an RGU community to really get that right for now and the future. So that's something I really need to think about in the next few months. The other thing, of course, I need to think about is other areas that we can enhance, and by that, what outcomes for our students we can make better. So at RGU, we know that we've got a really good student experience, but is there anything we can do to make that better? We know we're really good at keeping students here and making them successful, but is there anything we can do there better? And so I just need to find out more about that and just work with others to see if there's any enhancements that we can make. And I think as well, also what I want to make sure is that we really keep this inclusivity of RGU going, make sure that the campus is welcoming, make sure that we give the right services for people to feel welcome. And so really, these are the things that I really need to focus on and to make sure that's there. You didn't ask me if I've got any anxieties about the next 1 to 2 years, and I have. My anxiety is that I've talked about ways that I would like to see us enhance as a university, But I also said that we are very good, and sometimes when you change things, you can make things worse, and we can't do that. So we need to change things, but keep things at the really good level they're at. And that's my biggest anxiety, is that I don't instigate any changes that then make things not so good for people, because that just wouldn't be the type of thing that I wanted to do. So I hope I've tried to articulate what I hope to achieve, but also some of the anxieties that I have about that.
Absolutely, Lynn, and thank you very much for letting us know your thoughts on
Not
that.
at all.
So the next question basically is that we have had a few queries from students this year about the return to campus that we're seeing now. So what is the university's position on students who do not feel quite comfortable coming back to campus this semester?
I think the university position, first of all, I need to say is it's completely understandable. We cannot understand the experience that everybody's had over the last 18 months. We know our own experience, but we don't know that of others. So first thing, we're very understanding of that. However, what we really do need to work out is, why do they feel uncomfortable? And if we can find out why they feel uncomfortable, then hopefully we can do something to reverse that so they do feel uncomfortable. Because what we do know is there's definitely aspects of the student's life that were really enhanced by having either face-to-face teaching or being on campus. So we need to, if we can, facilitate that to happen for these students that are anxious or uncomfortable, to happen for them sooner rather than later. We've done as much as we can. We've got the 6 golden rules. We want students to really be aware of them, know what they're doing, make sure that everybody in the community is being safe so that people know that we're going to return to campus in a safe way. But that might not be enough to reassure people. So we just need to listen. I'd encourage anybody that's uncomfortable to speak to the personal tutor, to speak to the union, just so that we can look at other ways. We are really going to monitor what's happening on campus to make sure it's not too busy, to make sure that we are at the 1 metre distancing and all of those things. So I think that would be my message.
Thank you, Lynn. And also, being home to a highly diverse student body, what are some of the strategies in place geared at supporting learners from disadvantaged backgrounds at RGU?
I'm not going to apologise for being new for this point of view, but I've gained a lot of knowledge about all of the support services, but there's no way that I know them all yet. So I would encourage anyone that's watching this to also go and have a look at online at the web, or look at my RGU to gain more information about the support, just in case I miss any key ones out. However, one thing about RGU, we really want everyone from every background to feel welcome and have an equal experience here. And we do a number of things to make sure that no matter from what background you're from or where you're from, that you have an equal experience. So we've done a number of things to try and make sure that we're very inclusive and make sure that individuals have equal access to all of our facilities. So the first thing we've got, of course, is our widening access team, who, before students are admitted to the university and after, support students from that widening background to make sure that they have got enough support in terms of access to discretionary funds, access to perhaps the study skills that they need before entering university. Then, of course, we've got access to our counsellors for anyone that's got any mental health and wellbeing needs, and that comes from a different range. We've got mentors and buddies. We've got opportunities for the widening access team to really think about those that have maybe had care experience backgrounds, making sure that they have flexibility in their pattern of study to make sure that they can fully access everything at university. We've got our Res Life and Inclusion team that have been doing so much over this weekend to welcome students back to the residencies, but have been doing a key job to make sure that our international students who are in isolation are getting access to all the facilities, access to food, drink, and some interaction while they're in isolation. And really the other thing that we've been doing is we've got our Success programme, which is an online and face-to-face type activities that mean sure that people can get the most out of being at university and make the most of all of them. And also, I think what I need to say is that I know that a lot of work's been done over the pandemic to make sure that all of these services are done online, not just face-to-face. so that students who are studying with us online also have access to this huge wide range of facilities. On Wednesday, we actually had a university management group that really focused on how we can enhance accessibility to learning for people that have some accessibility issues. So looking at how we caption all our online digital recorded lectures, and really trying to think of ways that we can really enhance the experience at university for all of these types of learners. I'm not sure I've covered it all. You probably know. Oh, I'll tell you what I have missed. The Student Union. You and your colleagues in the Student Union, who are a great transition between the student body and the university. And I know that students can always come to yourselves, raise any issues that they have, and then you can come to me and we can look at how we can resolve that.
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that. So I'm just also thinking, how do you envisage sports and physical activity across campus, and do you have any experience yourself?
I would suggest we've got wonderful sports facilities in the university. We've got that great RGU sport, and I think the fact that we've given students free access to that for this year is just wonderful. It gives people a real opportunity. But what I would like to just emphasise is that we have got a big focus on sport in the university, which is absolutely amazing and wonderful. But there are people who are not interested in sports too, so we just have to emphasise that there's loads of other co-curricular activities. And yesterday at Freshers' Fair, we've seen a whole range of them. We had paintballing, we had the Christian Society, we had our health and wellbeing groups, and then we had, of course, our paramedic society. So I think what I'd like to say is that it's not just sport. We've got a whole range of activities for students, which is really, really good. And I think what I would like to do at taking this opportunity is to encourage students to participate fully in all of these, because you really will gain so much from it. However, what's my experience? Well, I've joined RGU Sport and I've paid my membership fees so far. I've been used the gym facilities, and I've used the swimming pool so far, but not enough. But as the nights become much darker and colder, I'll not be able to do my walking along the beach, so I'll probably need to use them out even more. We have got a wonderful campus, haven't we, for co-curricular? And one of the things I didn't mention earlier on is that I'm really keen to get vibrancy around the campus. And so as well, I would like to say, if anybody's got any ideas about how we can use the campus better, you know, paddleboarding down the river that's just there or anything like that, I think it would be great to hear about. But we really have got a great campus that we can have lots of activities outside the classroom in, and we need to really take full advantage of that.
Absolutely, Lynn. And just adding to what you have said, we have our union space coming up where students can express themselves fully. We'll be having TED Talk-like events and, exhibiting art from Grace School. It's just marvellous just now. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
And that'll be good when you're in that new facility, because there'll be much more opportunities for students to come and really engage with each other and yourselves to see what else we can be doing. So it'll be great.
Absolutely, thank you. So just back to you, what would you say was the one defining moment for you in your career?
I think there's been a few. I would suggest that I was shortlisted and was successful in gaining a Medical Research Council grant for research when I was 8 months pregnant. Which was an amazing achievement, because of course what I hope that does is encourage people, women especially, who are have a home life, but they can also achieve their career. So I think that was quite an ambitious part. Obviously, obtaining a PhD is a wonderful thing. It's a huge amount of work. It takes such a lot of time and dedication, and actually to get that tick that you've achieved it is quite a good thing. But I would have to say probably becoming professor was a really defining moment. Probably something I never thought in a million years. Being very stereotypical here, always felt a professor when I was at school was somebody that was slightly older, with grey hair, wore Clark shoes, completely stereotypical, completely wrong, but it was the image you always had in your head. And then to be part of a university that really fosters you to develop and really gain professionally and personally, to allow you to gain all of that and achieve that, it really was a great moment. I have to thank a lot of people, because it was good mentors, good leadership over the time that allowed me to do that. And to do that was just amazing. And actually, I found out I was going to be a professor when I was in the airport in Beijing, about to board a plane to come home. And just as I went to get on the plane, I was upgraded to business class, but I was travelling with a colleague at the time, and I thought, nah, I can't leave them. So I gave my ticket to somebody else to be upgraded. And so I had been given something that day, and I gave somebody an experience that they didn't have. And so I always remember that as I gained something that day, and that individual was over the moon to be in business class flying home, while I sat with my colleague and had a nice time, really feeling very grateful for being offered the opportunity in life to gain becoming a professor. So I have to say that probably was one of the great things. And then, of course, I'll be honest, to be appointed to be a vice principal is quite an achievement, and I don't say that in an arrogant way, but it's also a real privilege to be appointed into this role and to work with such great people. I've only been here 4 weeks, but I really feel part of a lovely team, and I'm really grateful for that.
Absolutely, that's just inspiring. And then one last question for you. What is your message to staff and students this year?
My message this year is relish the fact that we are getting some normality back into our lives. Take time to reflect on what we've had over the last 18 months and really take time and be kind to each other. Be kind to yourself and be kind to each other, because this year normality is coming back, but that doesn't mean that we don't have to reflect back of all the hard work and effort and energy that has been taken to get us all through each other. Be kind to each other, be kind to yourself, and really let's just enjoy a new year that's coming into something new.
Awesome. Thank you for speaking to me, Lynn, and thank you for answering all our questions.
Not at all. Thank you for your time.